Hello and good afternoon. My name is Alistair and I'm one of the careers advisors at Edge Hill University. Hope you're well and keeping safe at home at the moment. Today's webinar, what we're going to be looking at is psychometric tests and also using our online software program called Graduates First. Okay, so that's what the webinar is going to be covering today in the next sort of 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so if we go on to the Career Centre web page. Okay, so to access Graduates First, if you Google Edge Hill Careers, and it will then take you to the landing page here. Okay, and as you can see here, we've got some information about coronavirus contacting careers, which I will touch upon at the end of the webinar today. So our focus today is on psychometric tests and Graduates First. Okay, so we click on Developing Skills and Experience. And if you then toggle along, and you'll then see practice recruitment tests. So if we click on that link there. Okay, and then what that will then do is take you to the landing page for Graduates First. So graduate psychometric tests helps you to identify your skills, knowledge, and your personality. They're often used at the start of the recruitment process and also as part of the assessment centre as well. So often when you're going to be doing psychometric tests, you'll then have to do them when you're going to be applying for maybe sandwich placements, summer internships, and also graduate schemes as well. Registering as a graduate to use Graduates First, so what I mean by this is if you've already graduated, you can still access Graduates First and take a look at the psychometric tests which we have available on the platform. So if you're a recent graduate from Edge Hill University, to gain access to Graduates First, please send us an email with the following information: your name, your student number, your year of graduation, and your current email address. Okay, so let's get started. So in order to actually access Graduates First, we click on the link here. And what you'll then see is a username and email. So you need to put your current university email. Okay, so in my case, it's alistair.shimin@edgehill.ac.uk. It isn't your network password, by the way. So normally to access other systems at the university, you'd put your network password in. For this case, you need to create your own individual password, okay? That's normally a high case letter and numbers. You then simply click in the login. And then this is Graduates First. It takes you to the landing page, okay? So this is all the different psychometric tests which you can do on the Graduates First website. So there are main two types of psychometric testing. We have an aptitude and personality test. So aptitude tests assess your verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, logical reasoning, and what you will find is these tests will consider all these different skill sets in terms of your cognitive behavior, how you assess yourselves, and how you problem solve and resolve any issues which you may face. So what we'll do first then is we'll look at verbal reasoning tests. So verbal reasoning tests are designed to identify an individual level of ability to understand and respond to questions about information provided in a passage of text. So what we'll do is we'll just click on the first one, which is verbal reasoning test 1. And as you can see there, the test has been designed to assess your verbal reasoning ability using information provided in a passages of text. Read the passage of text and look at each question which is provided as a statement to determine whether it's true, false, or cannot say. Okay, so what you need to remember as well is the test consists of 24 questions and you have 12 minutes in which to complete this. The questions are numbered across the top of the screen, and then you then simply click next, okay, to start the test. Just a few key points, just to remember on the base of the question and information contained in the passage of text, not on any information or knowledge that you may have. Please take this test in a quiet environment where you're unlikely to be distracted. You may wish to use rough paper to make notes on and work both quickly and accurately. Also, just some tips and advice. If you really are struggling on one particular question, just move on to the next one. Bear in mind, you've got 24 questions to answer in a very short period of time. It's best to move on and then start another question So what we'll do is we'll simply click on next. And then what you then have here is in the top right hand corner is you then have a time period. So as you can see, the clock is ticking down from 12 minutes. And then you'll then have the top here, you'll have questions 1 to 24, and then a finish line at the bottom, at the top there. What you'll then need to do is read through that passage of text. Once you've completed that, you would then click next. It will then take you on to the next question, okay? We're not going to do that now, okay, because that will certainly take us far too much time. So what I've done is if we click back, and if we scroll down, this is one of the tests which I did earlier today. And if we click on View Report, what you'll see here is how well I've done in terms of my performance. So as you can see there, it's a very low percentile, as I was just doing a dummy run of using the verbal reasoning test report. But what it will do is it provides you an overview in terms of performance, in terms of red, amber, and green, what questions you answered correctly and which questions you answered incorrectly. What I do like about the verbal reasoning test as well is it'll tell you about strengths and development areas in terms of what areas you can improve upon. It also talks about your speed and accuracy chart, and then overall improving your performance as well. Okay, so this is just certainly a really good evaluation tool and feedback tool which you can use when you do verbal reasoning tests. So if we then go back and we then click on numerical reasoning. So numerical reasoning is a test designed to identify individual level ability to reason with the information provided in tables, charts, and figures in order to obtain a correct answer. So again, if we then click on this dummy one here, numerical reasoning test 1, same format. What you'll see here is 1 to 20 in terms of the questions, and you'll have 15 minutes in which to complete this. So again, this test has been designed to assess your numerical reasoning ability using information provided in a series of charts, tables, and figures. And then if we simply click on next, and then what you will then find is a chart here, and this is GLEC Economics Research Lab. And then it asks you to provide an answer to that particular question. And then again, you'd simply select the question, the answer, and then click on next, and it will then take you through to the next question, okay? So again, this is just a really good example which you can use for numerical reasoning in terms of tests. And again, a similar sort of format here is you can actually view the report in terms of how well you performed. And again, it's the same format and it's the same structure you would have for verbal reasoning tests as well, okay? The third test is logical reasoning, and what they're looking for in logical reasoning is in terms of how you'd be able to look at information in terms of sequences, patterns, and being able to determine what the next shape or the next pattern is going to be presented. So if we then click on the test here, and as you can see there, it's 1 to 14, and you actually have a minute for each question. So this test has been designed to assess your logical reasoning ability using the information provided in sequences of 5 diagrams containing various shapes. Look at the diagrams carefully and identify the rules and the logic that underpin the changes in the sequence to determine what comes next. So again, what you've got here is a number of questions, and you'd have to determine which sequence would then come next, okay? So you can practice those in terms of your logical thinking and reasoning. And what we then brings you on to now is a Workstyle personality test, okay? So there are lots of personality tests out there, such as Myers-Briggs, which places you in one of the 16 personality groups. Normally, you're presented with statements describing various ways of learning or acting, and then you're then asked to record how you'd agree on a Likert scale. So if we click on the Workstyle Personality Questionnaire, so the Workstyle Questionnaire is a self-report assessment where you're required to agree or disagree with behavioural statements that are provided, e.g. I enjoy working with others. You'll then be asked to agree or disagree with each statement in terms of how it describes you using the following scale. There are 90 questions to complete, and all the questions must be answered. There is no time limit, although the questionnaire should take you longer than 10 minutes to complete. Try and avoid spending too long thinking about a question. It's normally good to, think about, your gut reaction, what comes naturally to you, in terms of what comes, in terms of your answer to that particular question. This is a work-related questionnaire, so try to think of how you are at work, okay? So again, if we then click on next, and you'd simply click on 1, strongly disagree, 2, disagree, 3, agree or not disagree, agree or nor disagree, 4, agree, 5, strongly agree, okay? So again, they're giving you an hour, so you realistically should only take you roughly about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to complete that, okay? The reason a number of employers are now using Workstyle personality questionnaires is they're thinking about like how your dynamics are, how you'd fit within that team, okay? So again, it's a real interesting insight to see how you would fit within that organization. So my best advice is, to always be open and honest in terms of your Workstyle personality, because you want to make sure you're the right fit for the employer, and they want to make sure, you're going to settle in terms of that work environment. So this is a report which I did earlier today, which you can have a look at. And what you can see here is in terms of it puts you down in terms of position. So you've got introversion, easygoing, emotional, conventional, self-focused, overly critical on one scale on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, you've kind of got the opposite. So you've got like extrovert, conscientious, emotional stability, openness, people focus, overly favorable. Okay, so then it gives them a real good balance. But also as well, what I like about personality questionnaires is it gives you a real insight into your behaviors in terms of how you interact with fellow colleagues and how you would behave within a work environment, but also your personal life as well. So again, doing the personality questionnaire gives a real good insight into yourself as an individual as well. Okay, so what I wanted to show you now as well is also what we do find is a lot more emerging employers looking at situational judgmental tests, okay? And what they mean by this is they're assessing your level of competence in terms of your performance, in terms of how you'd react within a particular situation. So if we go into situational judgmental test number 1, and here's the introduction page. So what you'll find here is a situational judgmental test designed to assess your level of competence in a number of areas that are deemed important for being successful in a job. Whilst these areas are also known as competencies, vary by job. This test covers 9 of the most common ones. So if we then click on next now, and what you've got here is just a bit of a script. So you're working as an IT specialist for a large electronics retailer. You've been made aware of certain glitches within the stock check system that manages an automatic request deliveries to each store. Your management are concerned as this issue has never occurred before and may result in overstocking or no stocking at all. Approximately 74 stores. You do not have much clarity on the cause of this problem. What do you do? So what they're looking for here is basically you've got 4 statements there. So you've got statement A, statement B, statement D. So they're looking for you to rank that in terms of which statement you would use first. So you would then click on best, okay, and then you then click on worst. And then that would then take you on to the next question. So you're looking for the best case scenario, so the best response for that particular query, and then the worst response, okay? And again, if you click on back on next, and if we click on view report, and it's very similar, okay, in terms of the competency based. So what you've got here is a layout in terms of your performance. So again, this was a quick one which I did. So you've got solving problems, customer centered, delivering results, planning and organizing, leading, innovating, working with colleagues, communicating, influence and persuading. So it then gives you some tips and advice about improving your performance, okay? And what we are finding is a lot more graduate employers are using situational judgmental tests. So they're looking at your judgment and how you'd react and how you'd behave, in a day-to-day current situation. We find a lot of situational judgmental tests are being used in social work, certainly Step Up to Social Work. Frontline are using the graduate social work program and Think Ahead, but also Police Now are using a lot more situational judgmental tests. I think it's going to be rolled across, very many different sectors as we move forward. Okay. The final thing I want to show you on Graduates First also as well is games. So what we're finding now is a number of graduate employers are using different games to assess candidates in terms of their memory. So in terms of your cognitive memory, which you can have a look at, and we'll just wait for it to load up. I don't have any music while we just wait to hold for it to load. Just bear with me. It will be worth the wait, I promise you. Just need to speed my Wi-Fi at home at the moment. Okay, so if we click on the play button, and what you've got here is in terms of memory and cognitive memory. So looking at like how in terms of how you perform. Okay. So I won't go any further with that game, okay, in terms of cognitive memory, but there's a number of different other games which you can have a look at as well. So this one's called BART, and again, you can have a look at that in your own time. Okay, I won't go into that with you at the moment. Also as well, we're finding there's some assessment exercises which you can have a look at Graduates First as well, which is really good. And when it loads up, here we go. Also, what we found at assessment centres is another employers are doing in-tray exercises. And how an in-tray exercise would work is you'd have a typical working day and you'd be at the computer, and what would happen is you'd have emails coming through to you, and you'd have to prioritize in terms of what takes preference, what's important, what needs answering as well. Also, we have case study information. So you'd be given a case study about a particular topic or an area, and then you would then have to write a short report in terms of your response to that case study as well. So again, these are some of the assessment exercises which you can have a look at as well, which is really helpful. Okay. So if we just scroll back up, just go back to the home page. And if you just bear with me. Okay, right, so what I will do now is I will just go back to our Edge Hill Careers webpage. Okay, so just to finally finish the webinar on Graduates First, we also have a number of options which you can do to help and support you. So at the moment, the Careers Service is offering Ask a Question. So any questions or any queries you may have, you can email through, whether that's a CV, an application form. We're also offering telephone appointments as well, which you can click onto. And there's also a live chat every day as well. Please keep in contact with our Twitter careers page as well. So if you do need any more help or support, whilst you're working from home and whilst you're studying as well, please get in touch. And also we have some part-time jobs information as well, which you can access and help you. Okay. That brings me to the end of the webinar, talking about Graduates First and psychometric tests. I just think in terms of moving forward and using psychometric tests, you've got to practice, okay? So make sure you're very familiar with using all the different tests, okay? I think that's really important. And also just to get familiar and getting used to it as well, because it is quite a very pressurized environment when you've got that time and that clock in the corner and you've got these number of questions to answer. So my best advice to you is to use graduates first. Certainly when you're going to be applying for placements or summer internships or graduate schemes, it is part of the recruitment selection process. Often an online application form, a video interview, psychometric tests, okay? That's normally the kind of like the process. And then hopefully if you can get through those, you'll then be invited to the assessment centre as well, okay? So thank you for listening today. That was my first webinar on Graduates First on psychometric tests. I will return and I will do this on Interview Stream, which is based on video interviews. Many thanks for listening. Take care. Bye now.